We are
Am I on the
live.
wrong internet again? Where did I go? Dang
You're there. I see you.
it. I'm just making sure I'm not like on Wi-Fi. Okay, good. No, I'm not. We're good. We're super good. Hi.
So, I have basic strike news. And am I in the right chat? Oh my goodness. I think so. Because before it's changed, it always changes. Before there was an option.
Which one?
Oh, I did that. That was my mistake. Okay. There was an option for like private chat or Sydney. It doesn't. Oh my God. It is so exciting to see Justine as Casey because you look just like Drew Barrymore. It's crazy. I screamed when I saw it. I screamed. And
Well,
for
I
the
get told
OGs,
all the time that like I look like Drew Barrymore. So I was like,
Mookie Drew.
perfect. Well, and it's
Yeah.
funny because I already had this wig from like 2, 3 years ago doing Casey Becker like TikTok randomly. And Nordica, my daughter, for those who don't know, she wants to be Ghostface for Halloween this year. So we always want to try to do like matching costumes up until this month. The beginning of this month, up until this month, she was saying she wanted to be the Little Mermaid and I was going to be Ursula. And that was the
Kids changing
costume
their
plan.
mind? No way.
Before I
I
ordered
apply for a
anything,
Marvel.
I asked her one last time. I was like, "What do you want to be?" And she says, "I want to be Ghostface." I'm like, I'm glad I didn't order $100 freaking Ursula costume. Like, because here we are. She's doing
Hi,
something
Spooky
different.
Robin. Hi.
Sorry, guys. I gotta adjust
Hi.
everything. I
And
don't have my normal chair.
yeah, well, you still have more of your setup than you let on to believe. It still
I
looks
I've been
attached to a
meaning to pack it
speaker.
up, and I haven't. So
I relate.
yay!
I relate to that. I relate. And for
Convenient.
any OGs that might be in, who might not be in yet, is I'm the dark haired one tonight. And I just want everyone to know I just want everyone to know if anyone's the mean girl in this podcast, it's me. My feathers get all
Uh,
ruffled.
Even if you guys don't get that, I thought it was hilarious.
I am the dark haired one tonight. I am. That was my whole
Hi,
master plan.
Hi, Spooky Robin. Thank you guys. I'm glad the costume worked out. It's so funny because I was about to get ready for the podcast, and then I was like, I don't really want to do my hair. And then I remembered you were going to be Elvira, and I was like, I don't
I
have to
would
do my hair. I
I
can
would
just throw
feel
a
like
wig
a
on.
jerk. I would feel like a jerk if I dressed up and didn't tell you. It's like, it's like, okay, you
Yeah,
could have let me know. I would.
that was perfect. I
Mhm.
get just don't have to do my hair. Minimal makeup. This is like nothing. I just had to put on a little eyeliner on the corners
Oh,
and
me
like
too. This is like just a
lipstick.
little eyeliner on the corner, just a little bit. Naturally wake up this way. Um,
So now all the people that say I look like Drew Barrymore, you get to see it. I think I look nothing like her when I actually do try to look like her. Nothing.
see it still. I can see it still.
I think it's just how I sound. I think it's the way I talk with my lisp.
Little cute little lips.
So
So I do have a little bit of news in general, and I do still have the questions that I got
yeah,
gathered up. So I
perfect.
have a few questions, and of course, the chat, you guys can ask questions too. So should
Totally.
we start with our update?
Yes.
So is it okay if I share your news, or do you want to share your news, or not
Oh, go
share it
ahead.
at all? Oh,
Go
well, you're
ahead.
moving.
Yes.
Good move.
Yes.
Good
Good
thing, but
move.
a
Planned move.
really
Yeah.
yeah, it's but a lot of work. So
Oh, yeah.
um
I'm listing a house and buying a house at the same time. It's not fun. But
no, no, that's a nightmare. That is like
yeah.
a real
So
nightmare. I do
every
not.
other weekend I'm like shopping houses, we're looking at houses and or we're fixing the house for listing. So not a moment of peace right now. But
Retro, hi, Retro Tape Noir.
it's also
Do
very
we look
exciting.
familiar? Ooh, Yeah, moving is like if there was like you had to have the worst punishment, the thing you hate the most. Like if you like,
Yeah.
I don't believe in hell, but if there what in just in concept, for me it would be
Yeah.
moving my shit from one place to the other. It's a
I gotta
nightmare.
fix this camera. I'm sorry, guys. I don't like where it's at. I
Justine
have
and Emma can't come to the phone right now. So oh
Ugh.
hey El Chubby Cabra, you're El Chubby Cabra again. Good to see you. I'm the dark haired one tonight. So since
Okay.
Justine's doing a move, because ideally we'd love to see you guys every week, but sometimes life comes up. So we're trying to do realistically for now, we're gonna do once a month. Also, because Crystal's not back yet. And there's also the strike. So
Yeah,
we're learning as we
that's still
go,
happening.
babies. So we're still doing this and we'll do more in the future and we just want to make sure we do once a week. And for those Misties out there, I have changed the weekend. I haven't actually done it official in Discord, but it's going to be the first weekend in November. And I've been thinking, oh yeah, A24 and Neon rocking on
That's
these six.
that's what we're looking at for doing for when we do film an episode, we'll keep to the strike. Don't
I
look at my
will.
back hair.
Wigs are
Sorry.
a nightmare. Wigs are a nightmare. I And when we do have an episode of our horror shorts that does comply with the strike, but it's on my plate right now to edit, and I haven't gotten to it, and I will. And we'll like I let you guys know. Discord is the best way to kind of keep up with us. So
Mhm.
Discord will have on our announcements when we've got that up. We're not sure exactly when, but it will. It will. But so we're gonna do a live once a month for now, and that's it. It's like busy times, busy
We
times.
might do, like, relaxed fits here and there in between as we can do them, but we're scheduling at least 1 month for you guys, and then other than that, you'll catch us in Discord, and I'll still try to do, like, content on TikTok and stuff and the voting stuff. We'll try to do stuff when we can, but yeah, my free time is just little, very little. Yeah,
So
so
it's just for now. And then, when we have more free time, all of us, be more and then less. Cause we all it be because a lot of the podcasts we enjoy and listen to. Like for me, I'm a big last podcast on left. That's their job. We have other jobs and other stuff. So it's just, we only have so much time. So we're just trying to be able to promise you a correct amount of time. And hopefully we'll be able
yeah,
to give you a little more when we can. So Mystery
yeah.
Science Theater a night, which will be held in the Discord will be held by me. Um, Yours truly. Uh, in the first weekend of November, I'll give the dates in the Discord. So I love. So one question I get a lot, Justine,
Yeah,
because you and I are frequenters of other people's podcasts because it's so fun.
true.
Because that's why we do this. We love talking spooky.
Yeah.
And a question that comes up often is during Halloween or spooky
Mhm.
season, what films stick out to you? Right? What do you think? What's your thought? I mean, I
Like,
know this
go-to films to watch during Halloween time?
or well, because I think because there's people that watch horror all the time. I think of
Yeah.
films, I would name them, but we're trying to keep as adherence to the strike as we can. But so anything that has to do with actual Halloween, things that have to
Yeah,
do
or
with
fall time
autumn,
generally.
fall,
Yeah.
lore, like The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which I'm just
Yeah.
saying the legend in general, anything like that kind of I say or so the more Halloweeny the better or
Even,
kind
like, school
yes,
time
back to
movies,
school.
because school is, when if you have kids especially, or you are in school, like, there's something about school, back to school and school that feels very fall, so, it's a fall thing. And I think a lot of movies that have school settings are very much Halloweeny too. Also, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I also start to get into the winter vibes towards the end of October. So you'll see, like, if you guys are following my letterbox list for what I'm watching for October, you'll start to see towards the end I'll have like The Thing or something with snow, right?
Mhm.
That's still spooky, classic, total spooky vibes, but may also start introducing a little snow to get me in the vibes for winter. So my November watches are starting to get creep in.
So one public, I think it's public domain. It's not owned by a major studio, that's for sure. Film that I love to watch that gets me in the mood for, because like the holidays is hard for a lot of folks. And it's not my favorite time of year. I can say that,
Yeah.
even though I try my hardest. I dress up, I do like, I'm fine. It's just not my favorite time of year. I can. So one film to get me jumped in to that time of year is Santa Claus is what it's called. And if you
Mm.
it's a old Mexican film, and it's one of the Mystery Science Theater 3000s episodes. Maybe that's the one I'll do in November. I'm not sure. Um, it is the weirdest esoteric symbols. Like there's a scene where Santa Claus has these like mannequin reindeer that are white, and there's pentagrams, like pentacles, actually pentacles, like in like it's like am I being brainwashed right now? It is Merlin is in it. Merlin as in the wizard. It is insane. It is crazy. It's like there's like, hello, Dirty Hair Podcast. That's just you.
That's
I
me.
love you.
I guess I
Secret
was logged
Pasta.
into my YouTube right now, so I'm not on the podcast YouTube of mine.
And it's good to see you again, Secret Boss Sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie is weird. It feels like there's like some kind of chant going on, some
Mhm.
Gregorian kind of chanting. So I love that one. And I was thinking I haven't watched Mystery Science Theater in like, oh my god, 2 weeks. That's a long time for me. So what Mystery Science Theater episodes are like spooky? Because they do a lot of
Mm.
sci-fi ones, right? A lot of the atomic age kind of horror. We think of, giant things like Night of the Lupus, which is giant bunny rabbits. Um, but
That's
I
awesome.
think of the it's not the Corpse Bride. I always want to call it that. The the Bride Corpse. It has Bella Lugosi in it and Tor Johnson, who's that old wrestler. Time to go for bed now. Who is in Plan 9 from Outer Space. And that one's a nice creepy one. Just
Mm,
watched the
mhm.
beginning of The End, which is more sci-fi to me, especially with the desert. Now, the corpse vanishes. Thank you, Elsa. I knew you'd catch my back. And then
I
also
have
Squirm is a great one. Squirm is a great movie in general, I think. It's a
I
lot of
need to get
worms.
on your guys' level with these Misty episodes because I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it's just
I have to check them out.
old movies. So Squirm is a fun one. It's it's like goofy southern gothic. It's like a bunch of worms and it's fantastic.
Oh,
There's
I wish we could talk about the new Goosebumps.
we can, or
I know.
or Mike Flanagan project. There's so many great projects. Although I will
Are
say, I miss the monologues.
you
Besides,
kidding?
I
I
didn't like the
loved
one.
them. I
What?
loved 'em. Oh, sorry. I
I
thought there were
missed
a
them.
ton. I
Well,
thought
it
there
was
were
more like quoting Edgar Allan Poe.
It was so funny because there was, like someone made, like, a review on it and said, "I just don't like this show, there's too many monologues," and I'm like,
There's
"You
none.
don't like Flanagan," is what you're saying. Like, 'cause
I felt like there
that's
was
kind of his shtick. Like
because quoting Poe, which is not bad. We're talking about it, but we're kind of not. Okay, so hard.
just
Is
ignore
it's
us.
just talking about Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, is not the same as a monologue, and I liked it, and I got
No,
that was kind of feeling, but it's not the same as
it's
the when
what's her
there's
face
no.
is, the sister, God, I can't remember their names now. Her monologue at the end, fucking amazing. I loved it. I loved it. Loved it. I posted about it and everything. I probably shouldn't have, but I was like, "Queen!
Oh well, I
Best
did.
one ever!" Like
So I know this will be a shock to all of you,
mhm.
but I'm not perfect. So, that's the shock. It's shocking. Believe it. Just I know it's hard, but I'm not perfect. And I joined so if you want to go check out Rainbow Frights podcast in general, she's awesome. I was a guest on hers and she invited me to talk about the Saw franchise. And I said, "Oh, I
Mhm.
can't because of the strike. I can't because of the strike. Put me on as maybe." And then so we'll have some strike news, which is but and then it seemed they were in that so then the writers had made an agreement and the actors were talking, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna say yes because I want to talk. I want to do this. I'm rewatching them after I was a guest on her
Yeah.
podcast. I love them so much. I am a big fan. I am a huge fan. So, and then I had already agreed that I'd do it, and then they didn't make a deal, the actors, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I made a
Dang
commitment. I made a commitment.
it.
I made a
Yeah.
commitment. So I did it,
Fair.
and it was a lot of fun. So, so I have to tell you, so without so characters within a certain franchise, I was rewatching a lot of them for the first time, and I hadn't watched them in a while, and I'm like, these two characters, both of them are men. Surprise.
Mhm.
Would be really hot together. Why don't they just kiss and make up? Like, why are they even fighting? Why are the girls fighting when they could be making out? And so
Yeah.
I wasn't even looking up fan fiction or anything like that. I was just looking up the names of the characters immediately. A lot of
You weren't
really
alone, huh?
well done. No. And it's like one of the good things about the internet. Like there's like different artists with different styles and a lot of it's really good. Like the artists that are like that have been doing it for a long time. And I found a
Mhm.
fan fiction that is 31 chapters long. So I feel so seen. I feel so seen. And
Hey, Ghostly Fox.
I and I learned a little bit about interestingly enough about the actors because I didn't know anything about them before. And
Yeah.
one was a former New York Yankee, and the other one was a former soccer player for Australia. And they just have had like these. There's so many actors I don't know much about, and then it's interesting to
Yeah.
see their journey. One of them had been in the actor studio, the whole Paul Newman, kind of
Mhm.
method acting, which I just
Mhm.
recently learned what method acting is. Should we get to questions? Like you think
Yeah.
and get some questions? I'm
Let's do
just
some questions.
rambling. Is
Fun.
that
Let's
Fox
relax first.
666? Hello, Foxy. Hmm.
Yeah, Ghostly Fox, welcome. Welcome. And thank you to someone said the mayor on on YouTube. What's Casey and Elvira doing here? Where's Justine and Emma? That's right. Nailed it.
So I want to
I
know one
love
thing
the
I want to
Elvira
know, and
costume.
I looked at like different cosplayers that are really
Yeah,
good and people that have done Elvira, and well, both men and women and non-binary people because Elvira is very popular amongst everyone.
of course.
And
Yeah.
but to learn how to, I did my best with the boob tape, but to learn how she does the together and up like this would be Elvira, right?
So it's
It's
very globy.
hard. Like, I wanna know
Yeah.
her secret.
Yeah.
I wanna know,
She does
because
get them very globy.
she does it perfect. She does it perfect. So, questions we were asked,
And
I
I'm
don't know how
wearing an
long ago.
oversized sweater.
It
Like,
looks good,
the thing is
though.
huge.
It's
It
chic.
came in at I ordered, like, 2 sizes down because it said it was oversized, but it was the only one I could find that had the V-neck that I needed, and it got here, and I was like, "This thing is massive still, like, I'm swimming in it." And I'm gonna get hot, so I don't know how long I'm gonna last, but we're gonna try.
It's like that time I had to announce just so everyone knows for Mystery Science Theater Night, everyone has to keep their shirts on, and you're like, "Emma."
Emma, what are you guys doing in that chat room?
Oh, it's a wild time. A wild time. Anyway, so one question which
Elvira's
I have
secret is spitting in the face of gravity. I love that, Sydney. That's hilarious. She does.
she,
She does.
she
Gravity?
is
What's that?
such a goddess. Such a
What?
goddess. So one is a question about something that is like a struck work, but I have an easy answer on my end anyway. Any takes on Succession? I haven't seen it, so no.
Oh, I love that show. I love it. Yeah, great show. Great acting. My kind of drama, I guess, because there's some real dry satire, and I love it. I love like very. I mean, you guys know this already about me. I love parodies and satire to a degree that's not like overdone. Like I don't like Scary Movie, but I like Scream. That kind of level of satire and meta styling. Cabin in the Woods.
Mhm.
Succession is very, very much a dry satire. Like, everybody in that show is a caricature of themselves, but it's a serious show, if that makes sense? So it feels like dry humor, and it's funny. I know, I love it. I think it's hilarious, but I also think it's just really well done, like, political drama almost, but economic political drama. I like it. Yeah, that was an
I've
easy
heard
answer
good
too.
things. There's no Exactamundo, Sydney. Oh, yeah. That's such a g s El Chevy so good with the subtle references, because that's the Fonz, who's Henry Winkler, who's the
Yeah.
principal in Scream. I recently thought about, like, how I think it's cringy when people feel like they have to stand up for celebrities.
Yeah,
And again, this is just personal opinion. This is not like the way I think things should be. But I'm like, ugh, you don't need to stand up for them. It's fine. They're fine. Even
they're
celebrities
famous.
I
They got
like.
teams to do that for them.
Yeah, and it's also like, but at the same time, I'm living in a glass house because I would get in fisticuffs to fight for Henry Winkler's honor. I don't know why I feel that way, but I do. I'm like LeVar Burton, Henry Winkler. I'm like, don't you fucking dare.
It
Don't you
takes
dare.
everything in me to not go, like, crazy for Cabin in the Woods and for anything by Mike Flanagan. Anytime someone criticizes or says something negative about Mike Flanagan, it takes everything in me to not, like, transform, like, metamorphosis style under the full moon like a werewolf into a film bro. Like, it
And
takes every
take
ounce of
over.
energy in me to not
Maybe
go,
you just didn't get it.
"Well."
Well,
Like
maybe you just didn't get it. I feel that that's I feel that. I feel that. Of course, I
That's
don't feel that towards
I
people in
finally,
general.
like,
I
relate
stop
to film
myself.
bros whenever I see something like that, where, like, someone's like, "Oh, there's too many monologues in Mike Flanagan's work," and I'm like, like, "Well, that's because." Like,
Well, actually, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, it's
I so
hard.
it's like the Taking of
I
Deborah
rein it
Logan
in.
when she opens her mouth and like that famous image
There's the
where
mantra, yeah.
but I always stop
Katie
myself
Victor
because I'm like,
Neckerson.
Emma, it doesn't matter, and it's also
No,
their
there's a
opinion.
mantra. It's an inner mantra that you have to do. It's, "Their opinion is valid." It's okay that it's different than yours, Justine. Their opinion is valid.
Which
And
is
maybe they
true.
did get it, maybe they didn't get it, but you don't need to point that out. You just need to say, "Oh, yeah, well, I really liked it. This is why. I'm sorry you didn't." Or move on. Like, just keep scrolling. Like, but yeah, that's I never related more to film bros than I do whenever I see negative criticism on works that I'm, like, extremely passionate about. Like, I get it. I get it. But I don't do it still. It's just really hard. It's like I gotta down some wolfsbane.
So
Which
one question, this is a good question that leads into it, is what is some things that bother you that other horror creators do? And I'm gonna say, there are things that, like, personally I'm like, that's not for me, but that's for them. And so I don't
mhm,
really it never nothing any other horror creator bothers me. They're able to do what
mm-mm,
they want. Like, I don't ever feel
yeah.
like
Yeah, I agree with that. There are sometimes problematic things that I don't like, but again, to each their own. It doesn't bother me as much as I know that I made an active choice not to do things like that because it's not type of content I necessarily like. But what's crazy is most of those creators that I might not like some of their videos for whatever reason, and it's not the type of content I would like or not like, it's a very small amount of their content. Like I don't know of any creators that have put themselves into a category where they're not able to escape it. But there are some things, I guess, that I don't particularly enjoy. Sometimes it's when they explain a film that is very subjective as if that is what it's about. Like they just know that's what it's about. But that if there's no caveat, like this is what I thought this movie was about, or here's what I think this movie is saying, and it's just this is what this movie is about. I think that can really limit. a film's reach sometimes if your audience doesn't like what you had to say about that film and it's not necessarily it's a very subjective opinion, you might have just nixed a bunch of people's lists for that film because they were like, "Oh, I don't want to watch a movie that's about that." And it's like, "Well, it doesn't have to be about that." Like it doesn't really, you know. That can be a little troublesome for me. Because I feel bad. It makes those are one of those situations again where I just want to jump in the comments and defend the film too. It's really hard not to. Like I would, well, that's not what I saw, but I saw this, something to like reel it in a little bit. Like I think it's subjective, you know.
And well, it's
'Cause
hard to do
yeah.
that on the internet because you wanna do like, "Oh, well, I saw this," but it could always be seen as, "Well, I saw this, you fucking idiot," even though
Yeah,
you're
like I
saying
don't
you
want to correct anybody, but I do want to add to the conversation, and that's difficult. Because in the chat, especially in the chat, you can't really come across with tone or what you're trying to say. And I also noticed that I will comment on people's videos and then I'll feel bad because I know that that could have been taken the wrong way. And that sucks. But I usually just like to offer my thoughts on things in comments. And sometimes that could, yeah, like you said, come across like I'm correcting them or disagreeing. But it's not even that, it's just my thoughts. Like, anyways, I think it's, you just got to be careful, I think, when you're talking about a movie that has like, we've talked about it before. There's quite a few shorts even that we watched just recently in that horror shorts episode, where there's like 5 or 6 different interpretations you could have watching that short. And it's like, I could see, especially that, that progeny one with the alien baby parasite things. I think anybody could watch that movie or that short and get something completely different than the next person. Like there are so many ways to interpret like the meaning or the underlying tone or the messaging for films that if you're not if you're talking about it, just remember that unless it flat out is said that that's what that movie is about or the director has said this is what my movie is about, you might be putting the wrong message out there to somebody, and it's not the
and
wrong
then
message, it's the wrong message to that person who's not gonna watch that movie now because
yeah.
they don't wanna listen to that.
And the best
Uh,
thing you could do is kind of that's one thing I think is important about being somebody that talks about film on the internet publicly
mhm,
is that you want which doesn't people can do whatever they want, this is just my opinion, is that you want people to be encouraged to watch more films and different types of films, right? So,
mhm,
like, even if I wanna say I don't like a movie, it's never, "Don't watch this, it's garbage." It's just that, so it's just one of those things that you shouldn't feel like,
mhm.
"Oh, well, they usually are I kind of agree with them on film, so I guess I won't watch it." If you have an interest to watch a film, always watch it,
Yeah,
no matter what anybody says. And maybe you won't like it, and it won't be the end of the world,
maybe you'll agree with them,
Maybe you will, but
maybe
then
you
it
won't.
adds to the conversation.
Yeah.
So
Spooky Robin has a question.
oh, yeah?
He
Let's
said,
go.
"What are some tropes that are missing in horror you would like to see come back or done better?" Um, man, I feel like I just said this recently when watching a movie. Like, I need to see more of this. This is great. And I can't remember what it was. I'm always down for more werewolf movies. I can start off with that. Like, always, I want more werewolf. But that's more of a genre, I guess, subgenre. Um, I wanna see more I love the strong final girl who doesn't have to go through some, like, dramatic thing to become a badass. Because some of my favorite final girls are just badass already, and they do all the right things, and they survive, and I think that's great, and we should have more of those. Erin from Your Next is one, I love her, and I think recently there was another one that I watched that had a final girl very similar that I liked. I'm gonna have to think about which one it was, but those types of final girls I'd like to see more of because, especially if she's doing all the right things and nobody's listening to her. I love that.
Mhm.
like that was Ripley, right? And Aliens. alien, they didn't listen to her over and over and over again. And she was always right. And then she lived and they all died. And that's what they get. Like,
Henriksen's so cute, you know? It's hard to be mad at him.
yeah.
I recently watched Pumpkinhead, and he's so hot in that. It's a hard watch because the beginning of the film is so sad. It's like that
Yeah.
when the kid dies, and then when the kid is dying in his father's arms, they cut to
Yeah.
the dog looking sad. I'm like, oh my god, stop it! I can't. Oof. And like, it also he's shirtless in the beginning, and I'm like, Anyway, there's a good question by Secret Boss Sauce, but when it comes to things I'd like to see more, so there's a film I liked it, but I didn't love it, but I think it answered a lot of it, but in different questions. It's called Violation. Have you seen it, Justine?
I have not.
So something interesting about Violation, it's kind of a commentary on the idea of the rape revenge movie, like the
Mm,
French film Revenge, or they call her One Eye, also known as Thriller.
I
We
spit on your
it
grave.
Yeah, I Spit on Your Grave. I mean, Kill Bill isn't a rape revenge film, but it basically is in that style. And I
Yeah.
love all I well, I don't love all of those movies. I love Kill Bill and I love Revenge, but and
Hmm.
I don't dislike that type of film at all. But Violation was definitely a commentary on that. Is a commentary made a commentary on how society sees, like, if you're not the perfect victim, why should people believe you? It also She does kill her, and
Hmm.
it's very hard for her to do it because it's very hard, like, in the like, realistically, like, it's hard to actually kill somebody and then get rid of the body. It's not easy, and it's upsetting for her. So it's the
Hmm.
idea that violence created more trauma for her, and there's a very
Yeah.
interesting scene in a parking lot where a husband is yelling at his wife in a very abusive way, and she says, "Hey," and she's after she's killed her, you know, and she's trying to be this tough woman that, because in the movies, it's like you become tough, and it doesn't translate to that, and so I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of interesting things to be said about that. So it doesn't always have to be on the rape revenge type of film, but kind of, I would really like a lot of introspectives on how we think right now modernly about certain ideas, still being able to enjoy those movies but still opening up a conversation. I would love to see more films that play off those tropes.
Hmm. Yeah. I agree. I like that idea. You said secret boss sauce, right?
Yes.
He says, I'm noticing a slight trend in the horror community. Some seem frustrated with franchise horror, like the new Exorcist and the new Halloween IP acquisition, yet Chucky is still going strong and celebrated. In your opinion, why is that? Um, I I can't speak specifically to why Chucky is still strong and celebrated, except for I think a lot of the original creators and developers of that franchise are still creating and developing that franchise. And it wasn't really moved away from any of the original anything, to be honest. It's still the original franchise, really, if you think about it. Like there's not a lot of change around who's doing it and touching it. Um, Maybe adding to it, but not really. It's the same core group, right? Um, but
Yeah,
I
I
would
mean,
say as far as like frustrated with other franchise horror, I'm not. So I can't I like I like new franchise horror. I love the new screams. I'm fine with new franchises getting or old franchises getting rebooted or continued. They will be disappointing. Some of them will be disappointing. I did not like the new Halloween franchise, but I didn't really like any of the Halloween, so that doesn't really bode well for me. Would I like to see some more new films? Sure. But I think there are so many out there. I don't know. I don't have an argument for why people are frustrated with franchise horror. Some of it's really good. Some of it's not for you. That's okay. Um, they're still going to make it. You're not going to stop people from putting money into things that are known money makers. So franchises are always going to be continued to hack and play at and be rehacked, and that's just that's just business, I guess. But some of them I think are really good if you give them a chance, and that's just my opinion, man. Go
So
ahead,
Chucky
Emma.
Chucky is a very interesting example of this whole phenomenon.
Mhm,
The thing about Chucky is the first film, so Don Mancini's like the original creator, and he wasn't the original director though. That was Tom Holland. So with Mancini, he originally wanted to do like I think Blood Buddies was good, the original concept where like you know how like Baby Oopsie, not Baby Oopsie isn't
mhm,
real, but the idea that like there was a doll that wet itself and there was a doll that did, you know, like baby dolls being kind of realistic that actually existed. These were toys that existed. So his idea was like Blood Buddy or something to that effect was going to be the title, where it's like the dog gets like, oh, I have like a boo boo and it bleeds. And then so like the
mm,
blood gets mixed in, and that was going to be the idea. But then Tom Holland is the one that kind of came up with the whole voodoo thing, which doesn't make sense. Like in the original Child's Play, we think of
mhm,
like this killer Charles Lee Ray is a serial killer but also a criminal, like just a regular old criminal. That also doesn't make
mhm,
sense in general. Like, we could just pick it apart, but it's somehow still fun. And I am a huge, he's one of my cutie patooties forever, Brad Dourif. So I mean,
yeah,
he gets trapped in this doll's body. So it already starts very silly, and then till the third one, it stays pretty serious. And then Bride of Chucky is when they just do a turn right into horror comedy and the addition of Jennifer Tilly. And
mhm,
so it kind of has gone. I mean, Cult of Chucky is a bit more serious. And I loved Cult of Chucky. I love the and Curse of Chucky was also more serious. And I love those. And so now Don Mancini is part of the show. And I do think part of the thing that's refreshing about Chucky for me, and I haven't seen the most recent seasons, I just saw the first
mhm,
season. It's that Don Mancini has wanted to kind of, as a child, we all want to work through our daddy issues. I can say that as a person that dates people much older than myself. Both my mommy and daddy issues. And we all want to work through them in a different way. And Don
mhm,
Mancini has his own issues with not being accepted by his father for being gay. And so it's kind of the Chucky is kind of an example of the embodiment of this frustration and anger a child can have where they just don't know how to manifest it. And so the kids are a little older in the series, but it's kind of, we live in a time which is really refreshing that Don Mancini kind of explore the idea. Like the main kid is he's a gay kid, and it's nice that he has this like kid he has a crush on, and they kiss, and it's sweet, and it actually makes
mhm.
sense. And I think the kids are really good, and it's cute, and so it's kind of like, and it's so camp. It's just so much part of the the it's very
Meat of
much
the
part of,
franchise.
yeah, it's the Meta franchise, and it's a very much part of like the queer culture in a lot of different ways, which is so weird because
Mhm,
Chucky himself is like as accepting as Chucky himself can be of anything.
mhm.
But it's amazing, and Jennifer Tilly is a big part of that. So when it comes to the
Yeah,
other franchise horror, I The Exorcist is another very interesting example of that in the sense that I think that movie would have done a lot better if it wasn't related to the original, Freakin's Exorcist, which is very hard. I think one part of it that really, with that film in particular, that kind of didn't work for me is this whole Gordon Green thing where he has like basically a whole group of people doing something. I'm like, why are there so many people in this room for this exorcism? Who are these people? You know, and I feel like it should have been more focused on the individuals. But when it comes to franchise horror, it's
I haven't seen
always,
it yet, by the way, the new
I think you'll
Exorcist.
think it's alright. I'm not
Mm,
sure on that, but, it's some people really hate it. It would have been, if it wasn't connected to Freakin's Exorcist, I would have thought, "Oh, that was pretty good." That's a pretty good movie. Not something mind blowing, but pretty good. I see where he was going with it. But when it comes to franchise horror, I think that we are used to looking at, like, we think of Halloween 5, right? Not a great movie. Or Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers and the whole Thorn thing. Like, we look back fondly on it now with time, or Halloween 3, Season of the Witch was totally
which is
unconnected.
one of my favorites.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things that, like, with time, I think we'll be able to appreciate them more, but I think when they come out, it's always it takes time to process it because these characters have
Mhm.
lived in the public consciousness, within the horror lovers for so long that I think it takes time for us to get used to something new about them or some other
Mhm.
tone. I actually think Halloween Ends is better than Halloween Kills, but I prefer it. Now I think of it, even the suicide cherry blossoms quote, I kind of love it now. I want a shirt that says that, you know. Um, I'm sold. So it's just, I think it is, yes, Chucky 100%, he 100% accepted Glenn and Glenda,
Mhm.
both his children. And so it does make Glenn and Glenda make a very interesting commentary on gender and also the different experiences that different people have. And so I definitely, and it's always been goofy. So it's like, let's just go full ham, full hog on this. Let's just ride those
Yeah.
pigs to Silly Town, and it just works.
Well, yeah, and again, it doesn't feel like a reboot of the franchise, it just feels like a continuation of the same franchise, and it's very much in the right vein,
I
and
love you,
I
Justine,
think
because you could say what I just said in like 10 minutes in like a single sentence. You're so good at that. You are. I'm like, it takes me 10 minutes to say it, and you're like, you just like nail it every time.
It's just different. I mean, Chucky knows its audience, it knows what it's doing, it knows how to present the same thing that we love about Chucky. I mean, so it makes sense, but I don't think people I think people were just as weary at the thought of Chucky series at the beginning too. I know a lot of people were excited because I don't know. I feel like Chucky as a franchise has been around almost the entire time. Like, I don't feel like it ever went away. I feel like it's always been there, pumping out new films like every 5 to 10 years. Like, there's a new film. So it feels like it's always there and continuing. And it was about time for it to do some more. And so, Chucky series. But the other ones, there's some comments here that I think are really interesting. I don't think there needs to be another Halloween movie, is what was said. No, there doesn't need to be any new movie like for any franchise. Just like there doesn't need to be another werewolf movie for me. Like there doesn't need to be. But we know what puts butts in seats, and that's what they're doing. I don't think that the Hollywood studios are stupid for capitalizing on franchises, but I think that if they don't put enough care and forethought into them, you're just gonna have a bunch of disgruntled horror fans who are gonna be weary about your films. But hear this. We're all gonna talk about it. We're all gonna talk about it before the movie comes out, about how concerned we are, and we don't need another Halloween movie, just like we all talked about Exorcist with David Gordon Green's. We are all gonna talk about it. We're all gonna be weary of it, and we're all gonna go see it. So we
Yeah,
don't need
if
it.
they make a sequel
We're gonna do
to
it.
the new
Like,
Exorcist, did I love it? No. But will I go see a sequel to it? Absolutely. I'm like, they've got me.
yeah.
I'm hooked. I
I
know
mean,
that.
the formula works. Like,
Well, David Gordon Green has
oh,
stepped down because I mean he was scheduled to do all of the three. It's supposed to be a trilogy, and it's not. It's did so badly consider to what they wanted it to be. So he has instead of doing all three, he's like, oh, I guess I scheduling. I can't do the second one. I'm like, oh
right,
wow,
right.
is that bad?
Scheduling. Yeah, and then
Again,
one other comment though I want to touch on is someone said something about like I think the frustration stems from the fact that many of these reboots just suck. Many movies just suck. Period. Like that just happens. Some new movies just suck. Like some of them are really good. Like again, I know it's your guys' opinion, so I'm not arguing with you in any way. I'm just saying, in my opinion, you can say that about any movie, franchise or not. And I think genuinely it is the way films come out today. I spend more time siphoning through what to watch than I do knowing what to watch, I guess, watching a movie, because there's so much content out there. I sift through a lot of suck to get to the good one that I want to watch. And that happens, but that's just an opinion of what I want to watch. I've watched Scream 6 like 40 times already. People think that movie sucks. I freaking love it. Like I loved Scream 6. So, I mean, that's just the crux of it, isn't it? Like,
Well, two things. One thing I wanna touch upon back again is Friday the 13th when you were saying like Chucky, like does it feel like Chucky ever was gone? Friday the
mhm,
13th, like there hasn't been a new one since like 2009, but does it feel like Jason's gone? Absolutely not. I don't know why. They just loom. And I again, when it comes to, as you're saying, like some films just suck. And when it's with characters again that we put so much thought into and has been in our public consciousness for so long, it just seems more noticeable, especially when
mhm,
it's supposed to be more mainstream, whatever you want to think. I also,
mhm,
horror is a very interesting barometer for social
mhm,
anxieties, and it's just very
mhm,
interesting to me. And I'm trying not to talk about it, but that an Exorcist continuation, reboot, whatever you want to call it, is not popular, and then Saw 10 is a super popular and people love it. No, so I mean, something about Saw 10, I will say, is that is interesting about it to me, because most of that series came out during the Bush Cheney years. You know, we were seeing torture with the Guantanamo Bay. You know, if 4chan was up, we could see a man beheaded on the internet. There's all the, and then there's the whole idea of the surveillance state, the Patriot Act, um, that kind of coincides with that. Like, not that these films were trying to make comment on it, but it's kind of a
mhm,
their popularity to whatever degree reflected it. So now,
mhm,
in our time now, when we have these same characters, you know, Amanda Young, John Kramer. And John Kramer is made, it's for the audience to enjoy, right? Like, here's these characters you like. We found a way to make John Kramer more sympathetic. So, you know what he's doing was wrong, but the other person is so much worse, which is interesting about, as I said, a barometer for social anxieties, where we have like a lot of political leaders that are just awful monsters. And I'm not even saying anyone specific. You could think of so many things that happened up throughout the years where people directly or indirectly will hurt other people. Doesn't matter, men, women, children, doesn't matter who you are, they don't care about you. And we're like,
mhm,
well, we're not surprised. So it's interesting to see a film where we're like, well, this guy's a monster, but look at this monster. And so, like, wow. Like, so we find
mhm,
kind of soothing. We don't agree with John Kramer ever. He's awful. But there's something soothing about the fact that he has his own moral code that we can know what to
mhm,
expect. Like, he would never kill a child,
mhm.
that kind of thing, because that comes part of the plot.
There's some catharsis that comes with just seeing people get theirs.
Yeah,
Get got.
yeah, in
Like,
fictional world, because
yes,
like in the real world, I don't believe in corporal punishment. I don't think anybody should be punished
correct,
that way. But in a
correct.
movie, it's like, it's
It's
that's what it's
cathartic because it is
it
a
is.
fantasy. It's not real. I don't expect people to get got in the real life for cheating on their wife and
Oh, well,
going
that
doing
doesn't, no, I'm
then
talking
you
about
know what I
like
mean?
real
Like
like atrocities, which was interesting about, which I didn't know as much about this family as somebody that was watching House of Usher with, is that family, it's not Thatcher, what's their name? That created the whole like opioid crisis
crisis,
with,
yeah.
yeah, so very, and of course, Edgar Allan Poe was addicted to opium. I'm like, this is so brilliant.
That show is so brilliant. I just can't get over it. I wanna talk about it so bad.
We're
Like,
talking about it a little, but just know that like when we'll gush.
I'm
We're
gonna
trying not to, we're trying to
about
keep,
Usher. Like,
I just, although I will, the one thing I liked the show a lot, but the one thing I don't like is it has that Netflix look that I'm so sick of. I'm glad that Flanagan's divorced Netflix. He's like, we're no longer speaking. Um so, I'd be interested to see what he creates separated from Netflix, which is awful. The Netflix look, and it's not a Flanagan look, it's the
yeah,
Netflix look, and I just don't
yeah.
like it. I mean,
This is
it
a
takes,
great question again from Secret Boss Sauce.
oh, I would love to hear it.
With representation being such an ongoing issue in Hollywood, I have to ask, what was the first horror that made you feel like you were being adequately represented? For me, it was People Under the Stairs, the first time I saw a black kid as a hero in the genre. Great question. um, well, I'm a white woman, so I mean, there's lots of us out there. But as far as like more representative of who I am outside of that, I would say Ripley all day long. Like having I was a tomboy as a child and I loved making and fixing things. So like we had like small motors around the house. My stepdad built a cabin when I was growing up, so I helped him with that stuff. So I felt like I got a lot of tomboyery going on as a child, and seeing her as an engineer who was, on that, just doing all the tools and doing all the things that men do. And again, it was a role written for a man, so go figure. Uh, she felt like the woman I wanted to be. So for horror, I would say it's Ripley really represented what it is that I thought I wanted to be or be like as an adult, opposed to what I was currently seeing, which was mostly side characters or victims, which I didn't think is great for the genre. Outside of the genre, it was characters like anything Gina Davis, like
Oh,
anything
okay.
Gina Davis, anything Madeline Stowe, uh, just some really strong women who were embracing themselves as women, but also at the same time were strong willed. They didn't come across like nobody treated them like they were bitchy for it. They were strong female characters who still oozed sexuality, and they it didn't feel like anything that was typically frowned upon for women was some sort of detractor for their character or something they had to character arc out of. It felt like something that they leaned into throughout their character development, which I love. So, and we'll
Yeah.
always want more of.
It's hard, as as a white woman who is, technically omnisexual, but people don't know. It's basically, pansexual, but
Yeah.
a bit more specific. So I love everybody, but I also grew up in New England. I never really had a hard time. I've been very fortunate when it comes to where I've grown up, and what I've seen around me and what how it's been represented in media in our times. But again, Ripley in Alien, and also I think of Laura Dern in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
The thing
yeah,
about
that's a good
them
one.
is, yeah,
Yeah,
because the thing about them is like not
absolutely.
only women in STEM, but they were, because I don't get me wrong, like I love like an Angelina Jolie as Laura Croft, but that doesn't feel like
Huh.
a, no, I don't mean she doesn't feel like a real woman. It feels like an idea, and I love that idea. I love looking at that idea. I love like thinking about that idea. It's one I love. But when it comes to like a woman I could be when I grow up, it would be, like Sigourney Weaver's
Multi-dimensional.
character or Laura Dern, like
Yeah.
they're like normal hot. Like
Mhm.
that's a weird thing to say, but you know what I mean. And they're hot.
One
They're also
version
hot.
of dirty and sweaty wiping her brow, like
Yeah.
wearing cargo shorts. Like,
And they the thing is that they were
yes,
cool, like, they were good at what
so
they
cool.
did, and part of their hotness, like, or not that hotness is important, but part of what made them interesting characters, as
Mhm.
it doesn't even matter their gender, is that they just were interesting people that knew what they were doing, and I'm like, "I wanna be an interesting person that knows what they're doing." But one character that is a bit more, like, specific to me, not that she's
Mhm.
the best representation, is May, because, sometimes. 'Cause, that weird girl energy. May, Lucky McGee's May, I love that movie so much to the depths of my little heart, and there's a scene in that movie where she meets a guy,
Mhm.
he's in 6 Feet Under as well, and he's like, "I like weird," and he shows the short film he made, right? And she's like, "Oh, you like weird? I like weird." And then she goes a little further, like she bites him a little too hard, and he's like, "Whoa, you're like too weird." I'm like, That I felt. That I felt so much. Like, what? I thought you liked weird and like
Yeah.
kind of so as also a person like, it's not something I consider as a struggle, but I do have like ADHD and my own things like that. So I guess which is not you don't have to have ADHD to feel that way, but you kind of I think we all have to in our own way navigate like whether it's when we were young or what have you, like what's socially acceptable? Like what's the
Mhm,
socially acceptable me and what's the me just for very close friends that get me. It's kind of
mhm,
like sifting that out, especially as a person that is not real. I don't consider I don't describe myself as somebody that's into weird stuff, but to other people, I might be, and other people, I might be
mhm.
very vanilla and boring. So it's just kind of like shifting out that. So I really related to May in that way. I relate to May very much. Although I don't want to make the perfect friend. I think people are perfect or imperfect in their best ways.
Something else that was really great about Laura Dern is she was unabashedly feminist. And they didn't use that as a way to detract from her character either. Like when she said it, especially like dinosaur eats man, women inherit the earth. Those moments, as well as her moments with John Hammond at about going and basically saving their asses herself instead of him who's injured or limping. You know what I mean? Like those moments made her seem even better and cooler and like more attractive, even when typically those things are used to make people come across as shrews, women as shrew. And shrew,
Very
is that the
good.
word I'm looking for? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Like, or you're
Shrew.
like, ugh, men are stupid. It's like, no, it's like you've kind of faltered on this. Let me do it, which is
Yeah,
not
and
always bitchy.
one of the biggest examples I see all the time that women or people talk about for being like a feminist like icon is Julia Stiles in 10 Things I Hate About You. Love that character, love that movie, but she did not need to be tamed. And that is based off of the taming of the shrew. like, so that's what I mean. That was not Laura Dern. Laura Dern was not a shrew to be tamed. She was a woman to be risen to, brought to. Like, you had to rise to her level. That's what had to happen for Laura Dern. Because even her love interest didn't get her in the end because he didn't want kids, she wanted kids, and she was a feminist. Go figure. That's not like they're not separate.
Mhm.
Like you could be both. Like, so Laura Dern for sure. Ellie Sattler, badass.
So badass. And Secret Process, I love that you mentioned the people under the stairs.
Ooh, I
That's
love
one of
that
my
movie.
favorite movies, really.
Just rewatched it.
I gotta
It was
rewatch
on
it.
my watch list for October. Love
It's
that
a
movie.
good pick. It's a great pick. I That used to be on the Sci-Fi Channel a lot, and that's how I encountered it. That and also Candyman. But the thing, but and
Yeah,
also,
Candyman for me too. Sci-Fi Channel, I think.
yeah, they had a lot of good
Yeah,
horror on there.
and
And the thing,
Pumpkinhead.
and
And
Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead, yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
then so with the people under the stairs is like it's not perfect because it's like the situation that Fool lives in. They've kind of made a caricature of I've heard, but I I I just really connected to that because it's really an adult horror, even though it has like really campy elements. But the main character is a kid, and so that I really connected with that part of it. And he's just a kid trying to do the best for his family. Like you just what you do. You try to do the what's best for your family. You're not trying to, and I loved, I probably one of the, you know, Sean, I can't remember his name right now. So like just because I'm blanking, I have his signed autograph picture from but he's Sean Whelan who plays Roach because you know me, I love my weird little men. Like of course I have a crush with the kid that lives in a wall. Of course, knock on my wall anytime. um, I just it also that it turns on its head that the people under the stairs aren't the evil ones, and I didn't know Twin
Mm-mm.
Peaks yet when I was a kid when I saw people under the stairs. So I didn't know I know them as Big Ed and Nadine. I didn't know those characters already, but
Mhm.
it's something I just connected with. The Sci-Fi Channel was there's a lot of horror on the Sci-Fi Channel that I just connected with.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the people that were curating sci-fi just knew what they were doing.
That's how I got into Mystery
Like
Science Theater 3000 also, is that it was when it was on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it used to be on from, like, 2 a.m. on Sunday until, like, 7 a.m., and that's when I became a Misty Man. The Sci-Fi Channel.
sorry, I had to delete.
Oh, yeah, there's a bot in that. Um, so one
Uh,
question we have here is, who is an actor who's never the main character, but always makes the movie better? Like, side
Sarah
actor.
Michelle Gellar. Like, Sarah Michelle Gellar, best side character, always. Show stealing side character, for sure.
I really
Uh,
liked her as the principal or dean in Do Revenge I watched a bit ago. That was
yes, and she was totally channeling her cruel intentions. Oh yes, yes. I love Sarah Michelle Gellar in anything. I think she's gorgeous, and she's just a fantastic actress. She was also in the recent reboot of Teen Wolf, or not reboot. What's it called? When they do like an offshoot series.
a prequel or
Spinoff.
spin-off.
Spinoff. The spinoff, recent spinoff called Wolfpack, I think.
Oh, I
Uh,
don't know.
that show she is in, and she's great. She's fantastic. She's delicious. So yeah, oh, probably her. That would be one of my go-tos. I'm trying to think of another, but she's great. I can't think of a better one. Sarah Michelle Gellar. First one that popped in my head. I'm sticking with it.
So Chubby Calver mentions Ted Raimi, also a
Oh
good
yeah,
choice.
that's a good
Well, the thing about horror, it's filled with a lot of character actors, and so I love
one.
I love me a Joe Spinell.
Mhm.
Like, I love me a sweaty, like what is like in the depths of his psychosis, Joe Spinell. I mean,
Yeah.
horror. Like, we could just go on forever because that's a lot of horror actors. But there's an actor that isn't
But
really
who's
known.
specifically a side character. That's where I'm getting hung up, because I was about to say Justin Long is also a great one, but he's never the side character. He's usually like one of the main characters.
I would
But
say
yeah, he's a side
George
character.
Sanders is one of mine for sure. I
Mm.
he's just so delicious and how wicked he is. I mean, he's
Robert
famous
Carlyle.
he's
That's
from
another
famous
good
for
one.
All About Eve as Allison DeWitt. Like, if I was a critic, I want to be Allison DeWitt. I'm so witty and full of myself when I was
Ugh.
I mean, maybe he's more famous for being he's the voice of Shere Khan in the original Jungle Book. He's in
Mhm.
Rebecca when he tells the cop to a police officer, "Don't you people have anything better to do?" Mm. He's just so catty, but
Yeah.
a gentleman in a way that's interesting for me. He's just a great actor that a lot of people know, but they don't know they know. Even and
Mhm.
he's been in a lot of great films. So George Sanders is an answer for me on that. Dick
Good
Miller is
question.
great.
That was
Secret
a fun
Boss.
question.
That is a great question. Dick Miller, I think Dick Miller's last film, I can't remember the name of the film, it was also Sid Haig's last film, and it is a um
The holiday
I don't
one?
think it's based on it's a Hanukkah horror. It's one of
Yeah,
the
that one.
rare ones. It's
Yeah.
not very good, unfortunately. They deserve better. Um there should be more Hanukkah horror. There should be more horror from that area of the
Tony
world.
Todd is quite the stealer of the show as well, actually, and he just
Who?
pops up in all sorts of movies. Tony Todd,
Oh, yeah, he
like,
does.
he's just
He's
especially Final
great as a
Destination.
Klingon in Star Trek. He's Worf's brother in Star Trek.
By
Um,
the way, I watched that entire series. Like,
it's so
I
fun,
was
isn't it?
obsessed. It is so fun, so fun, and I
It's just,
love
like,
all of the
light, and you just
actors
wanna,
are
like
just perfect for their characters.
and
Oh,
so
it's
many
good.
people are so hot in that show. It's not fair.
Stefan Salvatore is Kirk. Like, I mean, that's kind of perfect.
He
He's
does that,
from
like
he's from Vampire Diaries.
I don't know Vampire Diaries, but the thing is, like, you look at him, you're like, "He doesn't look like Jake," but then he has that smile. He has that perfect cadence about him to be Captain Kirk. It's such a
Yeah,
fun
he's a
show,
good.
and, if
Pike
you
is
think this
also
is
a perfectly
cheesy,
cast
I mean,
character.
they're in Canada, racing a red car and having hot dogs. How is this cheesy? Uh,
Well, and the first episode, I had a moment because you recommended the show to me, and I watched it pretty quickly after you recommended it
you
because
did.
I didn't have much else to watch, and I was like, "Oh, she recommended this. I have this." And so I popped it on. The very first episode, you see Pike, and he's got like the beard, the
He looks so
longish
much better with the
hair.
long hair. Oof.
I immediately was like, "Emma! It's the
Yes.
guy. It's the guy from that show I loved." And like it's from Hell or High Water. Is that what it was? I think it's Hell or High Water is what it's called. It's a fantastic like show and
It's a
he's the main
western, right?
character. It's a bit of a western. It's like during the building of the railroads, and he's an ex-Confederate soldier who's uh not happy with what had happened in the past. So, yeah, it's really good, but he has really long hair and a big old beard in that show. So in the first episode, I see him like that and I'm like, "It's him!" And I got all excited. And then the very next scene, it's shaved off and I'm like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done those so close."
No.
I don't know how many episodes it took for me to be okay with it, to be honest, because I want to say
It
it
makes
wasn't
sense
until
though, as a captain of the ship,
yeah,
military
but
kinda.
still.
He looks so much better with the
They
long
shouldn't have
hair.
showed him at all with the beard and the long hair at all. Like, I understand they were trying to come across like he's retired and he's out in the woods and he's crotchety old retired man.
I'm not gonna be a captain of a ship
Like,
anymore.
yeah, I'm free. Like, I could
I saw
tell
my
that's what they
own
were
death. Are you
doing.
kidding me?
Yeah.
That's probably what
But
I would do if I
Hell
saw
on
my own
Wheels.
death on a
Thank you.
starship.
Not Hell on or High Water. Hell on Wheels. Yes, Hell on Wheels. So good. Love that show, and I
And
love him.
I gotta
So
say, like, not to, I mean, because, I'm trying to keep it in with all these things we've seen, Star Trek, House
yeah,
of Usher, and all this. So it's just like, definitely, uh, Dr. Mbega is my favorite of the doctors of all the Star Trek series. I love
he's
him.
great.
And that
Although
episode was so goofy and fun, and then it was really sad because he loses, but his daughter, but she gains a life eternally, and so it's like, I
that
didn't
was
expect this.
really depressing. I did
Oh, it was
not like that ending
that was
at
a tough
all.
ending because the rest of it felt so silly because we're like, "Oh, they're like little
It
characters
was
from
a
a fairy tale."
musical, yeah.
No,
Oh,
no,
and the episode right before the musical. Oh, the fairy tale one. That's right. There was one that was really depressing. It wasn't that one though. It was a real hard-hitting episode, and then the very next episode was the musical, and I was like
it's
and
the
I think
episode about Dr. Mbega and they had the ambassador for the
the
Klingons on
Klingon
the ship, and it was
yeah.
bringing up all the PTSD for him and Nurse
Yes,
Chapel.
that one, and he had just lost his daughter before that, right?
Yes, like,
Yeah. So it was the very
can this
episode
man catch a
before that was
break?
like fantasy and it was a totally fun episode, but then it was really sad at the end. And then I was like, man, this is depressing. And then the next episode was a PTSD episode. And I was like, this is really hurting me on the inside. Like, I can't handle this anymore. What happened to this fun, jolly show I was watching? And then it's a musical. And the next episode, like, what? It was a roller coaster for 3 episodes.
Just
Like,
Star
I
Trek,
was struggling.
classic. It's like this episode, like you don't like it's so goofy. You're like, wonder if you can get invested. And then another one is so sad. You're like,
So sad.
oh, what happened? What
Sorry for
happened?
the tangent on Star Trek, but I think I had to give Emma her kudos,
Well,
for
I'm glad that
recommending
you
it and me
liked it.
really
I mean, that's
liking
a good
it and
feeling when
like
you recommend a show and someone actually really enjoys it. So I'm just
really
glad that you
enjoyed
enjoyed
it.
it.
I talked about this on in our Discord about how it felt very similar to Supernatural at times and vibe, like the early seasons of Supernatural, where they had every episode was very different as far as what was going on in it. Um, so they were nice little, half hour episodes. And then, but there was a lot of comedic relief and happiness going on in them. Like it wasn't so serious and gut wrenching until later seasons and episodes. So it gave me that feel. In your opinion, are there any lessons that you feel Hollywood should take from horror? Classism.
Oh yeah,
Horror
1000%.
horror always has good lessons in classism. And Hollywood
Society
should
is a
take
great
note.
example.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because people talk about Holly weird all the time, or I mean, I'm just thinking about the current strike is that, these people that are ultra rich just won't give in because it's really trying to set an example. I mean, because it's just like, oh, well, we don't just own entertainment companies, we own other companies with regular employees. And what if our if people like we adhere to the strike as Amazon, then we have to pay. Then what if people that work in our factories or are or
What if we
deliver our
have to pay
products are?
all of our workers good pay?
Oh my god, we're gonna have to treat everyone like a freaking human being. Oh my
I
god, what
won't get
more do
my
they want? What
2.4 billion
more?
profits next year. I'll only get 2.2 billion
Oh my
profits.
god, the world is ending. So
Ugh.
it's just that, and so I know whenever I think of classism, society is one of my favorites because it's so fun. But it's so overt. The shunting, let the shunting begin, where the rich aren't just awful; they're aliens, and they like
Mhm,
have these orgies where their bodies just contort, and
mhm.
it's gross and hilarious. So I
What
mean,
I love
Hollywood
about
could.
horror is the rich, greedy people always get theirs. So, maybe they should take a note from that. Um, did you have more
Oh, I have more
questions?
questions. I do. Um,
Can you imagine the holes in my golden parachute? Yeah, exactly.
um, people want to be treated like people. I mean, if there's no
Yeah,
middle class in this country, who do they think is going to buy their products? I mean, come on. Um, let me find my
right.
apple. I mean,
I was
sometimes
I
it's
just canceled
surprising.
a
We don't.
bunch of my streaming services too.
They went up too. The
Yeah,
audacity, like they didn't
I
even
am
hear.
I am so close. I think I'm just gonna get rid of Netflix, and I think everybody should just
They
get
don't
rid
really
of it.
have anything good anyway. I mean,
I'm
especially if my
keeping
Italian get
HBO
lazy.
Max because it's like the only one that I feel like I'm going to constantly now is HBO Max, and I go on Amazon Prime and I order movies instead. I'd
I
rather
love
pay
movie.
19.99 and rent a movie on Amazon than go on Netflix again after this for 22 some odd a month. I could just rent a movie for that. I'm already paying a freaking Regal Unlimited. I can actually go to the theater for that and watch as many movies as I want in theater. Why am I going to pay Netflix?
I mean, I love Mubi. They have a lot. I don't know who owns Mubi, but they do a lot. They have a lot of foreign and independent films that don't get a lot of eyes on them. I can't get rid of
It's frustrating. There's a lot of Netflix originals that I'm going to miss and I'm going to be sad to not have anymore. But here's the thing, their greed is going to push us back to LimeWire days. You know what I mean? They're going to push back to the time when we stole product, we borrowed it. And that's why they tried to get rid of the sharing for Netflix, and they did because I was sharing with my ex. I paid for Netflix, or he paid for Netflix, I paid for Hulu or something, and we shared. And I had to get my own Netflix out of the blue because it wouldn't let me log in anymore on our
it.
TV. So they did that. They got rid of that. So we can't share, but I'll be damned if we don't all figure out a way, or somebody out there on the interwebs figures out a way to get around it.
I
To
hear
get around
tell
it.
on the seven seas there's a pirate bay, but
Right. Right. We're going back to those days. Push it. I mean, they're not paying the actors anyways, right?
not they aren't. But and okay, so here's just a second. There's a lot of questions about what we recommend for spooky season. We talked about a little bit. It's hard to navigate around like we've talked a lot about stuff that struck where
Legal
we're trying our
disclaimer. I
hardest.
did not say that. That's what, that's what Chupacabra said. No, I did say that. Spread the word. What are they going to do? What are they going
I
to
have two eye patches, you see. I do.
do?
Um
Oh man, Casey Becker came for Netflix.
Um, here's an
Arr.
odd question. And then a basic question. Let's go with the basic one. Favorite Disney princess?
Um, Mulan.
I guess I don't really.
Does she
I
count as a princess? That's what was taking me so long because I don't think she becomes a princess,
No, she doesn't. But I mean, she's part of that whole thing.
right?
I don't.
Mierda.
I mean, I
Is she
grew up with
Disney?
Disney. I don't can't say I don't. I mean, I like the Disney princesses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't really think I have a favorite one, like one that
I
sticks
like
out.
Rapunzel too. Yeah, I like her
Oh, I
too.
recently watched
I like a
that.
lot of them, but I have a daughter who loves Disney princesses. So Belle is one of my favorites. I love her. Her and Ariel were always like my favorites growing up, and Mulan. But I don't know if Mulan counts because she's not a princess. So if we're specifically narrowing this down to Disney princess, does Merida count? Is she Disney
Does
princess?
Esmeralda count? Because I love Esmeralda.
I don't think she's a princess either.
Yeah, but come on, it's doesn't it like it's the same? I don't know.
Megara's great. I love her from Hercules. She's sassy.
Oh, I
Like,
love Meg.
yeah.
I won't
Um,
do it. Get out my face. I won't say it. I won't say I'm in love. Or at least out loud. I won't say I'm in love. I love Meg so much. She's hilarious. Oh, did I pause or did Justine pause? Am I paused? She's smiling at me. She paused, Justine. She'll be back. She'll find her way. I know. I was singing. I can't sing. I apologize, but I'm one of those people that even though I cannot sing, I do it anyway. Oh, oh, she'll be back. She'll be back. She's reconnecting. She's reconnecting. So I won't ask any questions. Yeah, I mean, I love Labyrinth, which is not. I mean, technically, Disney owns Jim Henson's property for the most part. And you could say Sarah is a similar type of character, learning how to grow up. You know, Labyrinth was a big thing for me. Um, oh yeah, scene. Justine saying, "Let us in" podcast because I remember that time it like froze on her saying scene, scene. Let me make sure. Let me see if she's. Ah, there she is. Ah, you're back. You're back.
I don't know what happened. It's like my computer just disconnected everything, but I still had internet. It's like everything just went and exited.
It's the ghost in your house.
I guess so. I think
It's
it's because I have 2 roommates now, and they might be streaming movies or something, and it might be putting a drain on my resources.
mm.
I don't know.
Well, here's a question. What are your best, most neutral, and worst celebrity encounters?
I've never encountered celebrities, so none.
Um,
Uh, I mean, observation-wise, I would say I don't like Jamie Lee Curtis, so that's
you
about
reposted her
it.
though. I saw that, but it was
Did I?
like her same a good message. Yeah, it was something about children.
I
Maybe I'm
reposted?
yeah, like in your Instagram stories, like a while ago.
Was it making fun of her?
No, I don't think so. Maybe I'm just imagining it because
She
I get things
recently got
mixed up.
at that Ally Award, and I rolled my eyes.
What
Like,
ally for what?
I don't know, some, like was it Vogue or something? Somebody did, like, an Ally Award for, like, people who are shown to be good allies and stuff, and she was just all over it, and I just was like,
An ally for what?
"What?"
Whom?
For everything. Literally, there was,
Everything.
like, a freaking bulleted list after her name about what kind of ally she is for who.
That feels like a weird award to award allies. Like, it should
It's
be the norm to be
stupid
an
is what it
ally.
is.
It doesn't
Yeah,
like, I don't like
like,
that.
"Good job, white woman. You did a good job, Jamie Lee
Oh,
Curtis."
good job. Like, it should be for people that are advocates, that are part of a group that's
She just
marginalized.
seems so fake to me, like, everything she does seems disingenuine and for, like, a purpose, like, so every time I see her post something that's allyship, it does not seem genuine to me. It
I don't think
seems like
allies should get an
PR.
award. No offense. Like, there are people that are real advocates
An
as
ally to
allies that
everything
do
but
stuff,
horror fans. Oh, she was a real ally to horror fans when she had a movie coming out, though. Like, suddenly,
but
she
not to
was
her fellow
a
actresses. Like,
scream queen.
she's been really mean to quite a few
Yeah.
actresses within horror.
Oh, we've gone over it. We've talked about Jamie Lee Curtis and my dislike for her. I don't have any encounters with her though, or anybody famous to say anything. So
Well, I've had
okay.
a few, like whether it's at, but anytime I, besides that one time, because it was Boston and Mark Wahlberg's everywhere. Like there's really, it's really not an interesting story at all. Besides that, like I've always run into, well, not run into, but I've always met people either at a convention or it's a
Mhm.
book signing, it's an art show, it's a film festival. Like, it's a time when that person was expecting to meet with people that liked their
Mhm,
art or were
mhm.
fans, and so they're in the mind frame, "I'm gonna meet fans," and I also think about that story, our friend who was, he was a guest on our Evil Dead episode, and he
Mhm.
had met Tom Savini, and Tom Savini
Mhm.
kind of brushed him off. I've never met Tom
Mhm.
Savini, but Tom Savini kind of brushed him off, and he wasn't, like, mad about it, but he's like, "It was a bummer." And then, there were 2, pretty ladies that kinda came, he's like, "Oh, ladies, hi!" Like, not in a creepy way, but, he so I've never had any really, like, oh,
Mhm.
a good story. It's always been like, "Oh, yeah, I went to their film festival and they were really nice to me," or I went to their book signing and I said they were inspiration and they said,
Mhm.
"That's really nice, thank you." So I don't really have any interesting stories there, I'm sorry to say. So yeah, that's it.
I'd like to think though that if I met Tom Hiddleston or Tom Hardy or Jessica Chastain, I could pull them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I could pull 'em,
Yeah, but
yeah.
then that wouldn't be a story you could tell, if you pull
No,
somebody
no, I would
that's
never kiss and tell, but I'm telling you right now, I will try.
oh, me
I will
too.
try to kiss, but I won't tell.
Don't get me wrong, I won't try to the point where I'm a nuisance, but if there's a window cracked
I'm
open,
walking through it.
I am crawling through that window. I will. But I will, but again, that's a story I couldn't recant in any way, shape, or form, so,
Yeah.
that's for me. That's a story for me to keep in my mind.
I will write it in my journal, and I will read it like a
Over and over again, like that
like
one
a smutty
time,
book from Book
it was
Talk.
pretty fun.
Relive it.
And they write it like, "Hey, anybody
If
that reads
it's
this
good,
journal, this
only
is
if
just a
it's good.
fantasy of
If it's
mine. It
bad,
didn't
I might read it
happen."
once in a while to bring me back to earth, to remind me that don't meet your heroes.
Oh, wow, that'd be a bummer. I wouldn't write about that. I'd be like, "Well, that didn't happen." Mm. But I think it'd be pretty, I mean, I again, like, our friend, like, it's just he was at a convention. He didn't bump into Tom Savini, so I guess it can happen easily. I've just been I don't go to conventions a lot, but
Was
you
that a
know,
question on the AMA list?
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah. So personally, I don't like. I've always been in a situation where they've been ready for fans, and I experienced the word with me, and um, uh,
My dark-haired one is coming through.
oh, the dark-haired one. You cannot escape your truth. Um, how do you like your eggs?
Over easy? Well, I guess
Oh,
it's
me too.
medium. I don't like any runny whites, but I like a nice runny yolk. Um,
Me too. Perfect.
Poached is good too, especially if you're doing like the eggs Benny. Mm.
Look, if
And I
someone
like
else
Cholula drizzled on top.
ooh, yeah.
Cholula.
There's this one place that's local to me that they have it's like an eggs benedict that has
Mhm.
like a cilantro pesto and it's fantastic.
I bet. I'm not a cilantro eater. I think it tastes like soap. I'm one of those.
I love cilantro.
I'm one of those who tastes the soap.
But if somebody else is
But
making eggs for me, it's for me. I don't I'm grateful for scrambled, you know? I love it.
uh-huh.
You're making the
Facts.
eggs? I love
Oh,
that.
and I make a killer scrambled egg. Like, I'll make you scrambled eggs, Emma, and you'll never want a different egg after that. You'll never
I'm
like scrambled eggs from
I'm
anybody
remembering
else.
that, Justine, when I head over there
Yeah.
someday. I'm remember.
I make
Okay.
some good scrambled eggs. They're very buttery though, so you better be okay with butter.
Ooh, yes, I am. I definitely am.
I think so my mom taught me how to make them when I was a kid, so she taught me this, but I will say that Gordon Ramsay makes them the same way, so she must have known what she was doing.
Ooh.
So, the butterier, the better. Better with butter. Yeah.
My favorite
What is your
commentaries
favorite breakfast?
oh, breakfast is my favorite type of meal. Like, it's like
Me too.
usually some variant of whether it's eggs Benedict, like the eggs, bacon over sausage usually, and just like a potato of some sort. Like, that is my perfect
Yeah.
meal. Like, I just love
My
it.
favorite breakfast I've ever gotten was actually at a pub in Tacoma, Washington,
Mm.
and it's specifically a pub that has they show the Liverpool games every Saturday morning at like 5 a.m. or something, whenever they're live. So they're really big on soccer in America, soccer. Anyways, and they make the best corned beef hash. And it
Ooh.
is they smoke their own brisket for it and they put it on these potatoes that are just fried with the crispiness on the outside and they're seasoned just perfectly with
Mm.
peppers and onion and they're just it's like this nice little hash going on and then it's got the brisket in it and the brisket has these crispy little bits on it too because they stick it in there with the potatoes at the
Mhm.
last minute so they get the little crispy bits and then they put the eggs on top that are runny yolked just like a benedict and
Mm.
then they drizzle hollandaise sauce all over
Oh,
it
that's so
and it
good.
is so freaking good that it became my favorite breakfast ever of all time but typically it's eggs benedict or chicken fried steak. I love good
Ooh, someone
chicken
in the
fried
comments
steak.
mentioned fried steak. I don't think I've
Yeah,
ever
chicken fried
had chicken fried
steak.
steak.
Oh, it's so good when it's done right and it's like super crispy and really well seasoned. Ugh. And then you get the gravy on there and then it's on top of
Mhm.
eggs. Mm,
Mm.
I'm so hungry now.
Well, I mean, when I've been vegan for about 8 years, and now it'd be hard for me to go back, but not be and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can't give up cheese," but for me, it's because I am not speaking to the serpent, I am the serpent because I can't stop eating eggs. I can't, like a snake in the nest. I wanna eat those eggs so bad. I can't. Like, I love eggs so much.
That is so funny.
And it's
All
true,
I can
though.
think of is the what's her Joanna from Rescuers Down Under.
Oh,
His like pet what is she a monitor lizard or something
I
and she's
don't
always like eating
know.
the eggs.
Yeah. I was thinking more of, like, Lair of the White Worm, but, like, we could go with Rescuers Down Under, it's fine.
Joanna, those are my eggs. Get your own.
Yep. Uh,
All
um,
right. What's the next
um,
question? Sorry.
no, no, this is good.
Not
I
that I
like
think
fun
you are a
questions.
monitor lizard. You said it. Snake.
I am the serpent,
Mhm.
in many ways, but, what lighting do you use for photography? Well, when I do my proper photography, I use strobe lights, and the strobe lights I use, most of them are from Paul Buff, and so they're as good as, like, a Pro Photo Light or a Westcott, but cheaper, and also, I don't do a lot of outdoor shooting, I don't really need that TT high speed sync very often, and so the Paul Buff has different. I haven't used their new Celestial light, but Paul Buff is typically where I get a lot of my lighting for cheaper. They have good stuff.
I use the sun because I'm
The
not fancy. I find a window and I might
That's
take some pictures there.
often the best lighting for the face. You can't really beat it
This
sometimes.
light, though, is just something I think I got on Amazon. It says Dixie. Wait, no, maybe that says Pixel. Why is it backwards? The words are written backwards like it was done in a mirror. Like the sticker is that's it's
But right
tripping
now I'm
me
just
out
using
because
the
sometimes
modeling
I
light.
see things in reverse on the camera. So when I saw it reversed off the camera, I was like, "Are my eyes backwards? What have happened to my eyes?"
Fine
uh,
eyes.
I don't know what it is. I got it on Amazon though. I got like a couple ring lights from Amazon. I would like to get better lighting at some point, so I'll probably come to you, Emma, with some advice because I got that Etsy shop stuff going up now, and the pictures are just horrendous because the lighting's terrible.
You probably just need what probably would be helpful if you had like you can get like a soft box just cut like a beauty dish cover, but you can also just get
Yeah.
those. Let me take Oh my god, see how much different the light is? Oh my god. It's
Ah!
you can get like a bath curtain that's really cheap that's just like this where it's kind of transparent and it softens the lights. Oh my god. Softens
I think it looks pretty cool though right now with your makeup, to be honest. It's very Elvira because it's oversaturating you a bit. I like it.
All right, stay.
You're
Stay.
giving us a full show of the globes, baby.
They haven't settled yet. They're not settled today. Um,
They're a little rambunctious, a little wild.
for a little while today. Uh,
What's our
what
next question?
worst movie poster?
Worst movie poster? Like, I don't like the movie poster.
I assume it just says worst
For
movie poster question
horror?
mark. For
Ugh,
anything, I
God,
don't know.
there's a
It just says
lot of
worst
them I
movie
don't like, to
poster
be
question mark.
honest. I really like how A24 handles their movie posters. They're always just perfect. Boogeyman, I actually really liked that movie. I know a lot of people found it mediocre. I would say
Which one?
it
There's
was
a lot of
mid.
boogeymen.
The more recent one
I don't think
wasn't
I've
it
seen it.
A24? Maybe it wasn't A24. But I loved that movie poster. However, they always fuck it up by doing another movie poster that's just kind of worst movie poster for horror. Oh, that's tough.
I tend to not like. I mean, there's exceptions. Movie posters that have like everybody in the cast on the
Jennifer's
poster.
Body.
Worst?
Terrible movie. Yeah,
Oh, where
hate
she's in
it.
like the sexy
Her
outfit and
cheer
makes it
yeah, and
seem
she's
like
just
it's a different cast.
walking, and it's like her cheerleading outfit, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not cheerleading, but they do the flags, but
very
basically
Letterman-y, yeah.
yeah.
It's terrible because it's like, no, that's not
It
what it's about.
misrepresents the film completely, yes.
Yeah.
It's like
They could have gone with more of, like, a Mean Girls approach, like, where it has, like it looks like Mean Girls, but it's not about that at all, but it is, kinda.
that is something that a lot of films have played off of, including Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, of the Breakfast Club poster, and so there's even a Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 official poster that is just like the posing for Breakfast Club, but the characters from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Yeah,
But
that's smart.
that's a really good idea that they do that with Mean Girls, and Jennifer's Body would have been
I've been
perfect,
having a
or
lot
Heather's.
of fun lately with Letterboxd and checking out the alternate
Oh,
posters.
me too.
When you go in there and you can change the posters. So this October Spookathon list I've been going in there and changing all the posters for it. And I like the ones I put up I like. So it's funny because that's why I was thinking of Jennifer's Body because I thought that the poster was terrible. So I changed that one, of course. But there's like a few that I didn't like that I like the alternate a lot better. Oh, Sleepy Hollow. I don't like Sleepy Hollow's
The one where
poster
it's like the
either.
horseman and the moon and the tree.
And then all their faces,
I don't like all the
like, up
faces.
there. I don't like the
Oh,
faces. When you take that away and it's just the tree and the headless horseman, it looks fucking cool. Pumpkinhead's another one that has a really cool alternate poster where it's just the Pumpkinhead hand demon, like, clawing. It looks really cool. Um, I love it when they do posters that look old, like, more retro style, the way, like, Katie Video does hers.
yeah.
That style is really cool. But yeah, the
I
simpler, the better. I think Cabin in the Woods has one of the best posters because it's just the cabin in the woods, but it's all like Rubik's cubey. And I think that's so cool because you should why? If you don't know what the
it
movie's about,
fits,
why is
like,
it
the
like
whole
that?
it
Like,
fits, like, the whole room where we see them, like, in the different cages. It just somehow connects, like, in a
yeah,
way.
yeah, even though the house isn't like that, but it makes sense once you've seen the movie. And I think it's really cool to have a poster that makes you wonder what the frick is going on and why they have it like that. Because then you watch the movie and you're like, "Oh, I get it." And now you're in on the joke, right? You're in on the secret sauce, and that's fun.
I think one of the posters I don't think it's the worst poster I've ever seen, but for some reason it sticks out. It's a film called Hardcore. It's a Paul Schrader film starring George C. Scott in, like, a role that was almost written for him, in my opinion. But it's basically his daughter is either kidnapped, we don't know, or she's run away into the adult film industry, and so
Uh-huh.
and he sees a private detective shows him a film she's in, and that's how he realizes what situation his daughter is or isn't in,
Did he
and
have to
so the
watch it to get there? To
what?
find that to con did he have to watch it to get to that
They
conclusion though?
show him, yep. Mhm. Yeah, I
That's
guess so.
terrible.
I guess he had to
Like,
make sure it was yeah, there's a scene where he's in the movie theater and the guy is just who's played by Peter Boyle, who was Frankenstein in Young Frankenstein with, Gene Hackman not Gene Hackman, oh my god, Gene Wilder, different Gene altogether, Gene Wilder, so he's in a good episode of
Can
The
you imagine that movie
X-Files.
with Gene Hackman instead?
No, not as Dr. Frankenstein, maybe as, like, Frankenstein's monster, but anyway, he's the private detective that's sloppy and showing George C. Scott, who's, like, this straight edge religious dude, and so the poster is, the big words, "Oh my god, that's my daughter," and then it's just George C. Scott doing this in the corner, it's very awkward, it's like, "Oh my god,
That's
that's my daughter."
terrible,
It's awful.
terrible, terrible.
Hardcore is not a bad movie. The poster just is goofy for me.
There's a lot I'm gonna say in horror, there's actually a lot more movie posters I like than dislike compared to, like, action films. Action films, I think, have
They
the
have the worst
worst
posters.
posters. Horror tends to do pretty good because 'cause they're trying to not give away too much already, so, they tend to reel it back a little bit. I think that there's actually more horror movie posters that are good for bad movies. Like, where, like, the movie poster really pulled me in, and then the movie was just bleh. Like, and that happens more often than not. Oh, you know what, though? The Scream movie posters, some of those are terrible. Like, they are like I almost feel like it's a joke at this point to make a bad movie poster and one, like, good movie poster. Because like, this one that I have right here, this one is good. This is a good movie poster, right?
Yeah,
Right? But that's
it's
not
good.
the original movie poster. You want that has them like right here. Remember? Like they're all standing right here, and it's like post production photos. So none of them even look like they
Yeah,
did
and
in the
see,
movie.
Ulrich has, like, facial hair
Like,
in
yeah,
the
they don't
poster
look the
photos.
same at all. And only Drew Barrymore does to a degree because it was a wig she was wearing in the movie. So she just put the wig back on and took her photos. But like they don't look anything
Who's
like
that
they do in the
artist that makes
movie.
really good horror posters you guys were talking about him?
Oh, yeah,
Duck
Creepy
Soup?
Duck.
Creepy
Creepy
Duck.
Duck. Creepy Duck Designs. He always nails it. And his Scream posters are actually, I think, some of the best posters out there for those films. And I think a couple of them, especially the Scream 6 and the Scream 5 one, generated more talk on Instagram than the actual movie poster did. Like his movie poster got around further,
I
like
was
before
thinking
they
of
even
him
had a poster.
recently because I'm not a huge Funko collector, even though I'm looking at my WrestleMania right
Mhm.
now, HBK and Bret the Hitman Hart Funkos right over there. But but they recently had the Grabber Funkos that they released just recently, and one
Yeah.
of them is the Grabber. All that one poster where it's like the mask and the hands and it's dripping red blood.
Yeah.
That's a creepy duck poster, and then they made a fun I hope he's getting paid for it. Then they made
I hope so
they made, like, a
too.
different variations of the grabber, and one of them is from that poster. It's, like, in red and it's dripping. I'm like, "That's from the creepy duck poster," so I hope he's getting paid for
This is an interesting question. Spooky Robin says, "Do you think movie trailers give the movie away?" And I think sometimes they can.
that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they do too much.
Yeah, it's
Especially
honestly
Blumhouse.
why a lot of us stopped watching movie trailers for a while there. Like, especially, well, yeah, especially Bloomhouse, but also Blumhouse. But also if they're for a franchise or a particular story that I already know a lot about. So like the Scream trailers, I try not to watch those because I feel like I'll be able to discern too much because I know that formula, right? We know that formula if you're a big Scream fan. You know what to look for sometimes and it can give away a little too much. Although they've been pretty good at misdirection lately. But then there's like, if you know lore, and this happened with you with the Green Man for Men, where you were like, that's the Green Man. And I was like, I didn't even know what that was, but you knew what it was. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm watching this movie and now I know what this is about because Emma knows what the Green Man is. Like
To
that
be
kind of
fair,
stuff
that
can
was a
give it
good
away.
trailer. I thought the movie was gonna be so much better off of that because they didn't say the Green Man was gonna be in it, but
No.
they showed it enough that it was definitely at least thematically there, and it was, to be fair, even though I didn't care for the film that much, but
But that's like my point, right? Like you can watch a trailer and if you happen to know a lot about the lore that comes up in that trailer, even if it's just a little snippet, you might now know more about that movie than you wanted to going into it. So I would say be weary of trailers. Sometimes it's fun to watch them if I just really don't care. Like I know I'm going to watch this movie. I know I'm probably going to enjoy it or not enjoy it. So I'm going to watch the trailer. The Halloween movies, I watch the trailers for. I watched the trailer for Exorcist Begins because I've never been a real Exorcist fan in the first place, as you guys know. Like I respect it. It's a
well,
decent
the part
movie.
about The Exorcist I love so much, the original, is the, Damien, the original priest, and his it's really his personal connection and feeling he's failed his mother and doubting
Mm,
his faith because of that is
mhm.
really what connects me to the rest of the movie entirely.
Yeah,
And her medical, like, it's just like when you're a mother, and I've never been a mother, but it's like the idea that what do you do? And poor Reagan's going through like this. That's a really scary scene when she goes through the spinal tap and all the medical stuff. Because like, what else would you do? I mean, it's just kind of you're at a loss.
yeah,
I don't know if I'm not saying I put my child through the spinal tap. I'm just saying medical like going through the medical field is definitely what you go most people, not everybody, would go to first, you know.
right, right. Did we have any more AMA questions? Because
Um,
I'm gonna give it 15 more minutes, then I gotta skedaddle. I am hot and itchy. Like the back of my neck is just like, get off, get off me. Because of course this wig
we have a
curls under.
dating question, but it's
A
like
what?
a dating question.
Ooh,
How would you like it if someone you dated already has their own kid?
that's
we
me. I would be that person who already has their own kid.
I love kids.
I love kids, so I don't have a problem with that. I would have a problem with it if we had foundational and fundamental child upbringing things we disagreed on. That would be a problem. But that's not because of them having a kid. That's because we disagree on something that's pretty foundational in a relationship and family. So if me and my partner could not agree on how certain things. Like my daughter's allowed to watch scary movies. That's not that's not a small thing to me. We don't censor in this household. That's the real thing. The real crux of it is that I let her explore things in the safety of our own home that are not going to hurt her so that we can talk about it and engage in conversations in a safe way and I could lead her through things that she will be exposed to out in the world anyways without me. So that is a fundamental thing about my parenting style that I would never move on. So it's like a non-negotiable for me. So there might be little aspects of it that I'm willing to negotiate around, like perhaps my partner, who would be, is a guy, he might not feel comfortable watching certain things or talking about certain things with Nordica, who's a girl, because that's just a comfort thing that he doesn't have. I would be comfortable with setting a boundary there because I respect boundaries. And that's something else that you get to learn about when you're talking about when things aren't censored in your household is you can talk about personal boundaries and respecting them. So it's not it's a fundamental thing. So that would be a problem. But that's a
I think
disagreement on fundamentals, not
I
having a
I think
kid.
teaching media literacy is more important than just like, "Oh, no, don't watch that because 'cause you're too young and it's bad."
Yes, I
Literacy is
agree.
more well, I mean, as somebody that isn't a parent, when you date somebody that does have kids and has spouses that are or former spouses that are involved, it's just the idea of like, as a person, I wanna be respectful of all parents involved, and me as like
Yeah.
I'm not the parent. I wanna be there for the kids as a secondary like, as a responsible, adult and everything, but
Mhm.
also you wanna make sure you stay within the bounds of, like, who the actual parents are, so it's like, and that's not a problem, communication.
Yes, it's definitely all about communication. So, if you can't communicate, that would be the problem, not the kid. It's not
Like,
them having a kid that's a non-starter for me, although I do understand that some people feel that way. They don't wanna be with someone who has a kid. They're not maybe ready for that. Then you gotta make sure that you're upfront with the person you are attempting to move to the next level with, because they're not gonna get rid of their kid. So, you gotta come to terms with that somehow early on.
I've known people that have. They're
Mhm.
not some people just are not meant to be parents. When it's like, "Oh, my new boyfriend, doesn't like kids, so you're on your own." That didn't happen to me, that happened to somebody I knew. That did not happen to me. But, like, oof, gosh.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's end on one more question.
Yeah.
Um, again, another Halloween movies ask. 1 second.
There's an ad break that's ending in 2 minutes.
I see. Uh, oh, here's a fun one. I'm gonna alter it. It's just asking about Halloween outfits. But one thing I think about with Halloween, I like to
Mhm.
think of couples costumes a lot, even though they're ones I'll never do for whatever
Me
reason.
too.
So, Justine, I'm gonna like, what are some of your couples Halloween horror ideas that you like couples
Yeah,
costumes?
well, this year I'm going as Casey Becker and my boyfriend is going as Stu Macher, which is kind of funny because they were a couple, but not on the
They
movie.
were, yep.
But it's because my daughter so here's the thing, now that I have a daughter, she kind of dictates what the costumes are gonna be, and I make it into a family affair. So she wanted to be Ghostface, so we're doing a scream thing. So I like that. As far as other couples costumes go, I like to go for if it's not a pun, it needs to be iconic and healthy couples. So, Gomez and Morticia, always a good go to. I'm not a huge fan of Barbie and Ken, to be honest. Like, the new Barbie movie, sure, but I still don't think that's a couple's costume because did we watch the same movie?
I know they didn't end up as a couple.
So I don't think that's a great couple's costume. I think that's a great group costume. If you have a bunch of them, it reminds me of Never Been Kissed when they all dressed up as different versions of Barbie, Malibu Barbie. I'm
Mhm.
not Malibu Barbie. I'm disco Barbie or I'm evening gown Barbie or whatever it was. Those are great. Let's see for couples.
Ooh, the
Yeah, I like
Maitlands for
healthy couples.
Beetlejuice, that's a good one, especially in their
Yeah.
beast modes. They're when they're trying to be
Or
scary for
you
Juno.
know, I think what's her face and her husband are actually a healthy couple in that movie.
They are.
They're great. And I think that they would be a good couple, especially if you want to do like her outfit that has uh the like hand headband that she has. in the dinner scene when they do the Deo song, um,
Oh, that's,
that would
Catherine
be
O'Hara's
so yeah,
character. That's
Catherine
Delia
O'Hara's
Deetz.
character. Delia, thank you,
I
Delia Deetz.
love Delia Deetz. I wanna
Her
be
and
Delia
her
Deetz so
husband are
bad.
so great in that movie together.
He's
They're
like,
actually a
"You."
healthy couple. They
They actually
communicate.
are. I mean, because he's like,
They're a
"Look,
little
this room
eccentric,
is my
but
room. Keep it, don't touch it. You do whatever you do your
whatever makes
artsy
you
thing."
happy and makes me happy, we're happy.
I love Delia. I
Yeah.
love Delia Deetz.
Yeah, and they let Lydia do her thing too. They let her do her thing. They don't, like, make her change. They try to, like, encourage her to do other things and to come out of but she's just kind of
Unlike
an
the
angsty
mom in the
teen.
cartoon, which is like, "Smile more, Lydia, smile." But that's the
Yeah,
cartoon version of, Delia. But one
yeah,
couple's costume of I have in, like, my memory bank at the moment is not a healthy couple, and they're not even a couple, but they come from
yeah.
the same movie. It's from, Ken Russell's Crimes of Passion. So it's Anthony Perkins playing basically Norman Bates, but not Norman Bates. So he's got like this preacher collar, like the kind of like but he's got New Balance sneakers on, but and he has like this metal that he has that he's like implied that he's gonna kill Kathleen Turner with. And she is a businesswoman, like she's got her whole life together, but she goes
Think of
out
it
at
a
night and
plastic.
meets strange men and she calls herself Liberty Belle and has like this blonde wig and this outfit and does like a very Ken Russell type of
Yeah,
talk. So it'd be fun to do like because it's one of those costumes you can tell it's a costume, but it's not a movie where people are like, "I know what that's from." So for me, it's like the
yeah,
pretentious like, "Oh, you haven't seen Crimes of Passion?" But that's not why I wanna do it. I just think it'd be fun. It'd be a fun thing to do.
yeah. I'm trying to think of, like it's really hard for me to think of couples costumes. I always think about them, but then they go right out my memory. Like, as soon as I think of them, I'm like, "Oh, that's a good idea," and then it's gone. And I will put it on a Pinterest board, though. This is why I use Pinterest because my head cannot hold anything for long. So I pin it and I go look at it again later. But I mean, I think it's yeah, oh, Natural Born Killers is a good one, yeah. But also just the classics. Go for the classics. They don't even have to be couples. They could be like you could be a bat and he could be a vampire, or you could be Dracula and Dracula's brides. You just do something or even more classic, just a universal monster.
Or Zool
Like,
and the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper. So it's like when he
yeah,
has that weird colander on his head with the things, you know?
yeah,
And I've seen people do that. So, and when the glasses that are askew and then the
yeah.
Zool, like, dress. Oh,
With the
Sigourney
like
Weaver.
golden like dress and her hair's all blown
Yes.
out and oh
Yeah,
gosh,
that would
Sigourney
be a good one.
Weaver.
I'd love that one. Her
Yeah, that would be
legs.
a fun one.
Ah, to have a tall
Yeah.
woman's legs. The dream.
Mhm.
I'm not short, but I'm not tall. Mm.
I think I've thought more of mother-daughter costumes in recent years, of course, and I've always wanted to do mermaids with my
Oh, with
daughter at some
Cher?
point. Yeah, I wanted to do Cher's mermaid costume
Oh, I
and then,
love
like
that movie so that is a fall movie that I love watching, makes me
it
feel
is,
good,
it's
just like
good.
practical magic, like women
Yeah.
bonding and it's
Oh,
fall,
I
I
love
love
that
it.
movie. My mom and I used to watch that one a lot. I love mermaids.
I love mermaids. I love
But yeah, those are good ones. Or
Laszlo
like
and Nadia is a perfect.
that is a good one. Yes.
Oh my g and I
Yeah.
everyone knows I love Matt Berry. He is so hot. He is so creative and,
And
the way he talks. "Nadia, my darling."
I feel like I want to see someone
And
go
they're a very
real
healthy couple, actually.
hardcore with the Dracula setup to do the full on Bram Stoker's Gary Oldman Dracula with the little glasses, the top hat, the curled hair, and then do Winona Ryder in that beautiful red Victorian with the bustle. Oh God, if someone could do
Ina.
that, that would be beautiful. I would fall in love with that
I
cosplay.
can't get it. I think Laszlo and Nadia are a good. I mean, it is a comedy and a lot of it's jokes, but
Yeah,
they're a good example of a couple that is. They're not exactly monogamous,
they're
but it's
well
not. It's
lived
not the.
in.
Yeah, but it's like it's not defined, and and Laszlo's at least bisexual, if not more. So I.
Yeah.
So and Nadia too, to a degree, and so it's just they seem to really have things figured out in a very
Yeah,
healthy way without it being spoken. It's just obvious that they're a couple that they love each other. They're always going to be there and with each other, even though they sometimes do their own thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, so what are you doing for Halloween this year? I mean, obviously, this is my costume reveal, but you're not Elvira this year, are you?
Now, I'm not just Elvira. I'm working on my other costumes that I'm just doing like I don't know. I don't have really big plans to go anywhere, but I love making things, whether it's
Yeah.
puppets or what have you. I just love it. So I wanted to have something this year that I had to make in some degree. So I am going I have it's a twofer. Also a interesting couple's costume for that people are accustomed. So I'm making the helmet. I'm making my beloved Winslow Leach's Phantom of the Paradise helmet, and I've already got the Eva foam pieces cut out. I just need to glue them together. And then I have this spray paint that I got from like the little hobby shop that it depends on if my airbrush will work. It might be too
Mhm.
clogged. If not, I'll just get like so I'm making the Phantom of the Paradise helmet, and then I have like this base. It's actually like a used Black Widow
Mhm.
onesie from like the Avengers, whatever, but it will work.
Word.
And a cap and a cape. And then I have all the clothes for Swan. And most people that do Swan, they because they're out there that they do like the silk purple with the
Most people like
canvas.
all 5 of them. I'm just kidding.
And I love all of them. And so no, there's quite a few people. And so so I'm doing the black swan look, and then I already have a black suit, like it's not fancy suit vest, but it's a suit vest. I bought fabric paint to put the red there because I can't find
Mhm.
that anywhere else. And so I have a wig. So I'm Swan and a Winslow. Swan
So,
stole my music and framed me. I'm so excited to do it. I love making
some of you guys might have seen some of these, like, little snippets of her putting this costume together on her Instagram. You can follow her on Instagram.
I do Instagram stories a lot.
I'm also on Instagram at Just Enough, so you can follow us there as well. And you can join our Discord where we talk about all sorts of stuff. I mean, Spooky Robin, you've been really keeping me in check, going in there and asking questions and stuff, and I love it. We love a good active Discord, so thank you guys. I know I've been busy, but I check it. You guys talk in there, I will talk in there too, and I will get better about talking in there first.
Oh, Spooky Ramen is giving me a good recommendation. Have you seen Nadia? It's a remake of Dracula's Daughter. David Lynch presents it. That's for me. I have not seen it, and that is a great recommendation. We do a lot of there's a lot of people besides us that give a lot of great recommendations. So
Great. And
and
yeah, our
MST3K9
Discord is rife with fans,
horror
horror
fans.
fans.
Sorry, that was a really good recommendation. I had to go on the tangent. I'm so sorry.
I thought it was hilarious how we both wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't really consider myself as a person that has
Let's
fans.
humble
I like to
ourselves.
see what we have as a
Horror fans, not fans. Horror fans.
yeah, no, I like to see, oh, yeah, you are silly goose in
Yes.
there. I consider what we do as, like, creating just, like, a community of people that like to talk about horror in a certain way. I
Yeah.
don't see it as creators to fans. I just see, like, we're just all having a chat, you know?
Yeah, and we got heads of lettuce. That's
We
all.
have our heads of lettuce. Mhm.
It's funny that you said silly goose. Me and my daughter have a saying. So anytime she's being silly, I'm like, look at you, you silly goose. I'm gonna toss you in the lake. That's where the silly gooses belong. I'm gonna toss you in the lake, you silly goose. And we just go on like that, and we get in this weird voice where we almost sound transatlantic. What are you doing, you silly goose? And she'll do it
Well, look at
back, and
here,
we just go
see?
on and we babble like that, talking about tossing silly gooses in the lake where the silly gooses belong. And it just goes.
One movie I've been meaning to rewatch, but I haven't seen in a while, which Optimisty's not here tonight, but he would love this, is Arsenic and Old Lace with Cary Grant is one I've been meaning to see again. So, and look, I gotta get this boob tape off. Where is it? Oh, it's falling off. Oof. Ugh. Ugh. It's
Accident waiting to happen. So I gotta go anyways. I'm getting
falling off.
itchy and hot. Thank you guys for joining us. We love you.
I'll keep you
Love
updated when
talking
we'll
about
go
this.
live
It is
next.
so hard to not talk about stuff.
We're trying.
Come on, Hollywood.
We failed quite a bit, but
We did.
but we were holding back.
We
As much
tried.
as it
We
doesn't
gave
seem
it
like
a big
we were.
effort.
Like, we coulda
So
talk about most of the stuff we talked about that like Flanagan's work and Star Trek and, all this stuff for, like, hours. So
the
this is
problem
us
with these
holding back.
relaxed fits is they're relaxed, and so I'll just start talking to Emma like we're just talking about shows and movies, and then I forget that this is live and we're not supposed to talk about that
Well,
stuff.
we are monetized, so there's that. Although I do say
Yeah, we are.
support the actors, support the strike. If you're gonna pirate something, do it now.
Yeah.
So
And we are monetized. So
are we?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So
That's why
yes.
there's ad breaks
Oh, that's right. Okay.
on
Well,
Twitch.
okay, never mind then. I meant that. I wasn't lying. I didn't know. I'm such
She
a
just
doofus.
didn't know.
I just didn't know. Support the strike, support the actors.
All right,
It's
I love you guys.
love you guys. Good night. We'll keep you updated in Discord when we're gonna go live next.
Yeah, we'll let you guys know. Bye.
Unpleasant